Yes, here we go then, folks. Here is the latest action figure pre-order to arrive on my doorstep here at MoDXtra Games and Collectibles Towers. It is clearly the Hasbro Indiana Jones Adventure Series Raiders of the Lost Ark Indiana Jones figure. Ooh. Or maybe I should do it more like a mythic object. Ooh. So when Hasbro first spoilt this line, I was intrigued, but I wasn't over the moon about it necessarily. I am a massive Indiana Jones fan. It's up there for me as one of the kind of most influential film trilogies of my formative years. And I rate it like I rate Star Wars, like I rate Back to the Future, you know, those kind of key trilogies of your youth that make you who you are as you grow older. And Indiana Jones is one of those. But as an action figure line, it's just not very exciting. It's lots of dudes in suits. So, in order to take a look at it and to satisfy my nostalgic need to have something Indiana Jones in my collection, I bought the kind of main trouser, jacket, hat, whip look figure here, and that's it. It's the only one I've picked up. Now, if it blows me away and I think, oh, wow, this is amazing, then I'll possibly pick up more. But for now, I'm just quite happy having a classic look Indiana Jones Harrison Ford figure in the collection. This is the Raiders of the Lost Ark one. If The Last Crusade's got a good one, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Keep an eye on the channel from here on in. But this is the only one I've picked up through curiosity and just a simple love of this single character. Now, as we can see, it's the new Hasbro windowless packaging. So we've got a digital render of the figure on the front, and then an Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of backing motif there with the character and the coffin, that famous scene, the name of the figure, the builder figure, or build an artifact as it is in this instance, advertised on the front, all pretty standard. Then on the back, same digital render as on the front, a bit of information about what's included with the figure's measurements, and it points out here we've got some swappable hands, we've got his satchel, his whip, the little statue urn thing from the opening scene of the movie, his pistol, and then the two pieces, the kind of winged handles on the Ark of the Covenant there. All the legal bollocks and malarkey on the bottom. This side here looks like it's been stripped straight off the movie poster, so some artwork featuring Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones there. Various action scenes from the movie, the stealing of the artifact from the tomb. We've got the famous horse riding fighting tank scene there. And then on this side, we've got the complete Ark of the Covenant build of the artifacts piece, along with advertising the other figures available in the line and which build and artifact sections are in there, along with more legal bollocks and malarkey. And a load of legal bollocks and malarkey right on the bottom there too. They love covering their asses over at Hasbro. Maybe that's why the figures have got so expensive, because of the cost of running the legal team that write that shit. I don't know. Anyway, here we go. So let's get the figure open. I'll pop the tape at the bottom there, so I'm just going to slide him out here. He's in one of these cardboard little frames inside here. Some build and artifact instructions in there, and then this looks like, oh, what's that? Oh wow, paperwork, and it's not folded this time. More legal bollocks and malarkey. So here's the figure in a bag, and then we've got a bag of goodies just there as well. Nothing else in here, I don't think. No, that's it. This little bag here looks like it's going to be all the accessories. Oh, that's nice. That's kind of cool. So you can see there, it's got the sort of map design from the scenes in the movie where you see the plane flying and the red line going across the map as Indy travels the world on his adventures. That's a nice little touch there on the little baggies. Let's get everything out of there. It looks like all the accessories are in one single bag. Got the swappable hands, the Ark of the Covenant pieces. Oh, two whips. So we've got the rolled up whip and the unraveled whip. That's a nice touch. Here's a little revolver. And the little statue. Now onto the figure out of this baggie. So he must have his hat on. Yeah, he does. He's got his hat on in the... Yeah, there we go. In the bag. Is that removable? Oh no, that's fitted on. We'll come back to that. And here, oh, straight away getting Black Series vibes off this. And there we are. And there we go then, folks. So there's Indy out of the packet with all his goodies. I am now going to go away and do some posing and have some man-child playtime with this figure. Just really get hands-on. I'm familiar with it. So I'm going to give it a couple of days, see how he feels hanging around on my desk, see how he feels hanging around on my special little new figure shelf over here. And then I'll come back and share some review thoughts. So that's it for me, present day Chris, but you'll get future Chris with his review thoughts in 3, 2, 1. And here he is. Here is the Hasbro Indiana Jones figure in the plastic. It's been a good few days now since I recorded the unboxing section of the video that you've just taken a look at. It's at point of recording, it's around Easter time, so I've had a little bit of holiday break while the kids have been off school, but I am back now. I waited until I had an opportunity to get some good hands-on man-child playtime with the figure before I decided to share any review thoughts, and I've got those review thoughts, many to share with you. So if you're new around these parts, let's just read you in on what a MoDXtra Games and Collectibles review is all about. I use a very simple structure I call the 3 A's. The first A is aesthetic, so we're going to have a bit of conversation and review the way that the Indiana Jones figure looks. How easy is it on the eye? What's the paint applications like? What's the texture like? What's the details like? What's the sculpting like? All that good stuff. Then on to the second A, which is articulation. How does he move? How does he pose? Can we get some good fun playtime out of the figure? And then finally, the third A is accessories and added value. What extra goodies have they thrown in with the figure to make it worth our hard-earned cash? And with all that said and done, hopefully, it is my sincerest desire that my thoughts, my review thoughts, if you're on the fence and thinking about picking up an Indiana Jones of your own, they will help you make your mind up, make the decision. So let's not dilly-dally around, let's get into it. Let's move on to talk about the Indiana Jones figure aesthetic. Okay then, so I brought the figure a bit nearer to the camera so that we can conduct a closer inspection of the visual elements, a finer detail look at the aesthetic qualities of this Indiana Jones from Hasbro. And the character is such an iconic character, and there's so many visual elements that we associate in our mind's eye with who Indiana Jones is. You know, when you close your eyes and you think of this iconic cinema character, what do you think of? And in the large part, they are all there. Hasbro have definitely got all those kind of key touchstones, those foundation elements visually that we associate with the character of Indiana Jones. We've got his classic fedora, his leather jacket, got his adventuring khaki shirt and pants, you know, when he's out treasure hunting, being adventurer archaeologist dude rather than university lecturer dude. It's all there. We've got his little knapsack that he puts his stolen artifacts in. Liberated artifacts. Pops those in. That's all there. And there's some lovely visual qualities to the hat and the jacket in particular. You can see on the jacket, for example, the leather effect is really nice. It looks like a leather jacket, but it's got all this wear and tear. There's a bit of a wash gone on over the top of the jacket to make it look like, you know, he's been rolling around in sandy tombs and bumping up against booby traps in jungle temples and whatnot. You know, it's all there. It's also a bit of wear and tear on the cap. You can see here, hard worn, seen some things, this hat, been some places, you know, and you can see the paint applications there and the wash been used to give it some texture, some depth, some wear and tear to help tell the story, to communicate the narrative of the Indiana Jones character. We've got the 5 o'clock shadow across the character's face sculpt there as well. You know, again, the hallmark of Indiana Jones. There ain't no time for shaving when you're treasure hunting and archaeologically making your way around the world adventuring. There's no time for a shave, so you've got the 5 o'clock shadow. And while I'm here, the face sculpt is decent enough. You look at it, you can immediately see that it's Harrison Ford, or at least I think it does. Opinions may differ on that one, but I think it's decent enough. It looks Harrison Fordy enough. The detail in the face sculpt is nice. The eyes are a little bit strange. The paint applications on the eyes are a bit kind of vivid. I don't know if you can see, like, the whites of the eyes seem a bit vivid and therefore stand out a bit funny. I was taking photos for the thumbnail for this video a little earlier on, and under the lights the eyes sort of glowed strangely, but other than that, yeah, the paint application is really neat and tidy. Got those nice touches like the 5 o'clock shadow. All the key features are well sculpted, lots of fine detail in there, which is lovely, which is nice, and I think you can tell it's Harrison Ford. I mean, it's not quite there, is it? but it's there enough, and it's certainly an improvement on some of the Han Solo Black Series figures that I own, so that's thumbs up from me. It loses its way a little bit into the main torso, so even though the shirt and the pants have got some nice detail and texture in them, you can see creases and folds, and it's got the pockets sculpted in and the buttons, and there's loads of creases and folds down the pants. It gets a bit plasticky, a bit too plasticky after all the effort that's gone into making this leather jacket and sleeves and hat look all worn and torn, textured. The textile, the fabric texture of them is there. The shirt and the pants go a bit plasticky for my tastes, and so the shirt in particular, the shiny shirt, sort of stands out underneath the jacket. Also, the bag and the gun strap, the gun holster belt here is a bit rubbery, plasticky. It's they've kind of, I mean, the texture's kind of there, but it's lost its way a little bit. But there's definitely some fine detail paint applications in there, like the buckles on the belts here and on the strap. We've got the pop studs on the little knapsack, the little satchel here. They've been given a little dab of gold paint, so it's all right. It's okay, but yeah, it's a bit plasticky. It stands out even more when you look at the bottom of the trouser legs, actually. So you can see here down the bottom of the leg, a lot of effort gone into putting the texture and the wear and tear in. There's sort of muddy scuffs on the bottom of the pants and across the shoes there, and the shoes have a nice bit of sculpted detail in them, but that really then stands out if you sort of look at the shiny plasticiness, and then, oh, down here we've got a nice wash and some paint applications, which makes the plasticiness of the upper part of the legs and the main chest stand out even more, whereas I'd liked that to have been consistent throughout the whole figure. Just a quick peek at the back of the jacket as well to further illustrate what I was saying about the effort that's gone into the coat and the layers of texture and detail. Look at the wear and tear marks here sitting on the shoulders and down the bottom of the jacket, and all the creases and folds down here, and the way it's tightened up where he's got his little little buckles on the back of the leather jacket there. That's a really nice touch, real lovely eye for detail there, as these kind of two concentration areas where you get this sort of wear and tear. You know, when you're rolling under spinning wall blades, then yeah, your shoulders are going to get a bit worn out. You know what I'm saying? The colour choices are accurate, again, to, they're accurate to the costumes that were worn in the movie by Harrison Ford. They frame up the figure well. It works. You know, when you look at him on the shelf, it's all kind of balanced and nothing leaping out as too dominant. It's all ties together to make that Indiana Jones visual identity. In terms of the figure shape, we've got a fairly decent representation of the Harrison Ford physique from the movies. It is a more kind of smaller, tighter 6-inch figure, more akin to the Black Series style than, say, the slightly beefier. I don't know how to articulate this, but I feel in hand and to the eye that the Marvel Legends and G.I. Joe Classifieds are a bit beefier by comparison. I'll throw a few next to him a bit later on in the video. So he's got this slightly smaller, more tighter, more svelte sort of 6-inch action figure, more in line with the kind of Black Series style. One aesthetic element that's been bugging me is this second belt. They've got a belt on top of a belt. So he's got his belt holding up his pants, and then he's got the belt with his holster on it and his little strap for holding the whip, which I've got lots of thoughts on this bit here. I'll come back to that in a minute. But that's sitting on top of the belt that's holding his pants up, and it just kind of, it's a bit fidgety and a bit fiddly, and aesthetically looks a bit strange. I'm going to say something that you'll rarely hear me say. I might have preferred this second belt to be a little bit looser, to sort of hang a bit more down to his kind of quick draw hip here. I've not gone back and had a look at any screenshots from the movie to see whether that's accurate or not, but it's I don't know, something about that just doesn't look right to me, but I suppose that's a horses for courses thing. So overall, aesthetically, yeah, it's a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up as far as the MoDXtra Games and Collectibles aesthetic review goes. There are some little niggles, like the kind of plasticky look of the shirt and the top of the trousers, but overall, I'm very happy. I love the leather jacket. The leather jacket is smashing it out of the park. I love the shape and sculpt of the bottom of the pants and the jacket and the hat, giving it loads of texture and depth and really contributing to that narrative storytelling element of the character. And And when you see it on the shelf, you look at it and you know that's Harrison Ford and that's Indiana Jones, and all those key visual identity elements are there. So, largely speaking, no complaints, just a few minor irritations, which I can overlook for the overall visual experience of the figure. So there we go. That's the thumbs up on the aesthetic. Now, let's talk about the articulation. Right, so starting above the shoulders then, we've got I think a ball joint at the top of the head and a hinge at the bottom of the neck, which gives you plenty of motion in the head area. Good down, decent up, bit of tilt, swivel, full exorcist. It's all there. It's nice. It's good head motion there. No complaints in that area. If you lift up the jacket here, you can see there's a butterfly joint underneath the shoulders of the jacket. So we've got a bit of shuffle, bit of forward and back there, and then hinges so that you can get it up to a T. Probably noticed that this side was a bit stiff. I had a bit of heat on it, but it's negligible. He was pretty articulated out of the box. It's a single elbow joint on the arms, which get you up to there, about a right angle, and then there's a swivel at the elbow point as well. Little bit of a disappointment. I might have liked a wider range of articulation here with a double elbow so that I can do some more exciting stuff with his whip holding and his pistol holding and what have you, but it is what it is. Then the hands are fitted on with a peg under here. There are no hinges on the hands. You've just got swivel at the wrist. The absence of hinges in the hands is a little bit of a disappointment as well. I was doing some photo stuff with the revolver in his hand, and not being able to hinge it up and down was a bit tricky, and some stuff I was trying to do with some photos with the whips as well. So yeah, a bit of a letdown in the wrist area. The main torso just has a waist swivel here, so there's a little bit of crunch forward and some decent swivel motion in there, but there's no crunch in the main torso. Then in the groin, we've got forward here, and very little back because of the way the sculpt of the arse cheeks go there. We can get a fairly decent ballet dancer. Swivel here at the top of the thigh. Single knee, which gets you to, again, roughly about a right angle there as well. I'm less fussed about the single knees as I am about the single elbows, because what I found is, largely speaking, the poses that I've been trying to put my Indiana Jones in, I want more going on up here than I want going on down there. It's just kind of standing staunch, about to shoot a villain, you know what I mean, or steal a statue. But the added articulation in the knee area would have been appreciated had it been there, but I'm less bothered by that. Then into the feet, the shoes are on a hinge and a rocker, pretty standard stuff, so you can get that kind of largely well-accepted range of motion forward and back and side to side in the feet. So the articulation is all right. It's decent, but it's a bit old school. You know what I mean? A bit old school. The single elbow joints, the single knee joints, the absence of any more articulation in the chest area is all a bit disappointing. I mean, I wouldn't have expected a boot cut, really. So that's sort of okay, but yeah, it's a little bit limiting. If you're looking to do some more ambitious posing with your Indiana Jones, perhaps you want to use him for some photography or a more ambitious kind of diorama, you might find it a little frustrating at times. I certainly did when I was trying to do some stuff with him the other day, in the arms area in particular, with the whips and with the pistols and what have you. It's a bit more limiting up top, but kind of like the way I view the McFarlane figures, really. What is this? Is this a plaything, or is this a display thing with a bit of articulation? And I do sort of view an iconic 80s movie character of this nature as more of a display thing than a play thing, and so the limited articulation is a little bit more excusable, I suppose, in the sense of, you find yourself a nice little comfy pose that looks like it's got a bit of action going on, and you're away. And the articulation is not so limited that you can't communicate some fluid movement. You can't replicate some of the movement that you see Indy do in the movies. So it's all right. You've got to ask yourself what you're looking for. I'm going to eventually kind of find a pose for Indy that suits me, and he'll sit on a shelf and just be an Indiana Jones display piece that I may occasionally then readjust every now and again as I see fit. But if you're looking to do something a little bit more ambitious with him, you might find the articulation a little bit restrictive. So I'm giving it sort of a thumbs up. a middleish, because I just feel like we've moved on now. You know what I mean? We've moved on. I'm much more accustomed to double elbows, double knees, and more engineering and thought going into the articulation of the figures. But I also get why he is less articulated. I mean, they've gone for an aesthetic decision around the trousers and the sleeves and the shirt that have limited it. So you'll make your own mind up, I suppose. All right, then, on to accessories and added value for the figure. And I'll start once again with some of those kind of key visual elements that are part of the character's identity by showing you the whips. So there's 2 whips that come in the package there. We've got an uncoiled whip that's ready for action, and then a coiled up whip, which you can clip onto his body. They are in this kind of brownie ready plastic thing here. It's fine. It's all right. I probably would have preferred a darker brown, to be fair, but it is what it is. They're well sculpted. You can see some nice sculpting detail in the whip itself, giving it some texture, giving it some depth, so that's all nice to see. Clipping this coiled up one, though, this is a big point of contention for me. This belt is bobbins because of these stupid pop stud things here. This is supposed to fit on the belt there with this little pop stud. It's a bit shadowy where my hands are, that goes into the belt here, but that just does not simply work. Does not work at all. This rubbery pop stud is too soft. It's not firm enough to force its way into the hole. The hole's too shallow and too tight. I have yet, after over a week of owning this figure, been able to get that hooked through and pop studded decently into the belt to hold the whip on. It has been annoying the hell out of me. And while I'm on the subject, I'm going to talk about the revolver in a second, but while I'm whinging about the pop studs, it is the same here on his holster. There's a little pop stud, plastic rubber pop stud that goes through the hole in the kind of covering section of the gun holster here, and it's too soft. It's too soft to be forced through the hole, and the hole's too tight. And I managed to get the pop stud through the holster by asking my wife with her long fingernails to poke it through. I cannot do it at all. This is like when the team over at Hasbro working on the Indiana Jones figures got their prototypes in, how they said, oh yeah, this works great. This works great. This is perfect. No problems at all. I do not know. That absolutely defies belief that after all the attention to detail that has gone into the jacket and the hat and the face sculpt and all that, this old school piece of shit approach to the weapon storage, the whip and the holster just defies belief. But there you go. So even though I like the whips well enough, and certainly this whip here that's uncoiled I've used quite a bit in this grippy hand here, this one I've not had on the figure at all, and I've owned it for well over a week now. Seeing as I've just banged on about its holster, I better show you the revolver. So there's the revolver there. This is a bit pants as well, actually, if I'm being perfectly honest. I've been a bit unimpressed with the revolver. The sculpting is all right. I mean, you look at it and you go, yeah, that's a revolver. But it's very thin, flimsy, wobbly plastic. The barrel gets bent. The handle gets bent. It's all a bit... I don't know, a bit cheap and rubbish. Did have it in his hand. I was doing some posing. There is a trigger finger that I'll show you in a second. But I've been a bit unimpressed with the pistol, to be honest. I suppose that's just because I've been spoilt by the quality of the weapon sculpts on the likes of G.I. Joe Classified and Valorverse Action Force, you know what I mean? It's small. It's just a bit pissy. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something that I found I've disliked about the revolver, but I like at least having somewhere to put it, even though it is a bit of a faff. You can pop the revolver into, oh, go on and bend it. See what I mean? It's just annoying. You have to bend it to get it in. Maybe that's why they made it out of that soft plastic, so that you could bend it to get it in. And then you, hypothetically, are supposed to pop stud it through like that. But I can't get the pop stud in, so what are you going to do? We've got a decent selection of swappable hands. There's 2 for the left side and 2 for the right side. They're a little bit difficult for me to hold up on the camera to be seen, but we've got 2 fists, 2 clenched fists for either side. Don't know if you can see them all right there in my hands. Should have got some tweezers or something. Sorry, folks. And then like a trigger finger and a holdy hand thing. So the trigger finger, obviously, for the use with the revolver. The holdy hand thing for, I don't know, holding the whip, probably. And then the clenched fists, that's all fine. They're decent enough. Actually, maybe I'll do a quick overhead a shot of them lying down on the ground so you can see them all. There you go. How's that? Is that a bit of a better view so you can get a handle on what the swappable hands are like? It's It's because they haven't got the because the peg is in the figure and goes into the swappable hand, whereas traditionally you have the peg in the hand, don't you? Or largely speaking, you have the peg in the hand. So it's a bit difficult for me to hold up to the camera, but there you go. There's the swappable hands. They're easy enough to change. You just pop the old hand out. There you go. You can see the peg in there. And then you pop the new one in. There you go. Bob's your uncle. Fanny's your punchy hand. Then we have the golden idol, the fertility statue from the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark there. This is a nice little touch. A nice touch for the photographers, for the diorama makers out there. It's well sculpted, looks accurate to the way it looked in the film. It's got a nice metallic golden paint job there, so that's a nice touch. One criticism I have of the statue, although it's technically not the statue, is that the open palm hands, the two open palm hands, don't seem to hold it very well. I'm not sure, like, if you were trying to do the bag of sand switcheroo photo, you have to, it's kind of like a strange balancing act that you have to do to get the statue into his hand there. It's not a good grip, I don't know. I wanted to sort of get it held more. Oh, well, there you go. I suppose that demonstrates what I'm saying. I wanted to get it held more kind of like that, but I couldn't do because... Oh, well then, bugger me. Look at that. I've managed to do it now on camera. So maybe take that criticism for what you will, because I've managed to do it. Oh. Finally, we've got the Build-A-Figure pieces here from the Ark of the Covenant. These are the two kind of winged, sphinxy statue things that sit atop the Ark. These are okay. I mean, I'm not planning on buying more of this wave particularly. I'm probably going to stick with this Indiana Jones because it's Indiana Jones and that's it. I think it's unlikely I'll be buying any more of the figures from this point, I don't think. So I could care less about these in some respects, although they are kind of nice little display pieces. You could integrate them into other things. So they're handy to have in the bits box, I reckon, if, like me, you're just interested in a classic indie and that's about it. So they're nice for the bits box. But if you are doing the Build-A-Figure, then they're well sculpted. They've got the nice golden metallic paint apps. They're good. They're decent. They're just, not a selling point for me particularly. So accessories and added value wise then, there is a decent pile of stuff with the figure. I'm always into having a good selection of swappable hands for sure. Some weaponry or some accessories that help with your storytelling, and you absolutely have to have the whips for indie, you know what I mean? So it's all there, it's all present. The satchel that's across the body, I believe, is removable. I'm sure I read somewhere on Discord that someone had removed it, which I imagine you could with a bit of fussing and faffing. I've not bothered, I've just left it there. It's fine because of the way they've kind of popped it in on the figure underneath the coat. I'm cool and happy with it, but that's, I suppose, could be included in the accessories list as well. One point I note, the hat is a permanent fixture. It's not removable. I might have liked a removable hat to have a head of hair there on I nearly said Han, a head of hair there on Harrison, but do you know what, when I weigh that up and I think about, well, how often would I pose him, how much would I want that removable hat for shelf display options, how often would I pose him without the hat on? I think it's probably negligible. I think it's unlikely I'd pose him without the hat, largely speaking, so even though it would be a nice to have, it's not a deal breaker at all. The main thing is that the revolver's a bit shit. I do not like this belt at all, so aesthetically I don't like it, but also practically it's not serving its function very well, I don't believe. I just cannot understand why the Indiana Jones design team were like, just put these stupid rubbery pop studs on. It just boggles my head how that's a design choice. But yeah, it's all right. It's a decent selection. There's not anything that's made me go, wow, they put one of them in, but it's a solid standard selection. And for the price I paid for the figure, that's more you get with like a Marvel Legends, so I'll take it. You know what I mean? I'll take it. Quick comparison time now then, folks, and I'm just going to get started right out of the gate with the most obvious figure comparison, really, which is the Star Wars Black Series Han Solo. This is the Empire Strikes Back version of the character, so you can get a sense of how the head sculpt has changed, the size and shape difference to the figures. You can see that physique-wise, the Black Series and the Indiana Jones are similar, although Indiana Jones has obviously got the kind of baggier late 20s, early 30s clothing, whereas Han Solo is wearing the more skin-tight styles and fashions of a galaxy far, far away, but you can definitely see the improvement in the head sculpt. Just very quickly, because I had my Empire Strikes Back box out, here is the Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett. As a side note, this is the most egregiously under-articulated figure ever to have been produced by Hasbro. This Boba Fett is subpar as far as articulation is concerned. He should be a million times better for the type of stuff you want to do with a Boba Fett, but he's there anyway for a quick comparison. Here's Indiana Jones with a really old DC Direct Jesse Custer figure from the Preacher comic with light-up eyes. Can you see those there? Because, you know, why not? I was feeling a bit silly. Here he is next to a G.I. Joe classified Spirit. Hopefully that'll give you a bit of a sense of the physique, you know, the musculature, the kind of difference in the book and what the increased range of articulation can possibly offer. Although I've not really articulated that Spirit super ambitiously, have I? But yeah, you can see that kind of chunkier, thicker, more beefy feel that I was trying to express earlier. I mean, I suppose the G.I. Joe guys are more muscular, generally speaking, because of the nature of who they are and their jobs and what have you. But I don't know, you can sort of see in the face sculpt there that the G.I. Joe Classified's got a bit more going on in the face sculpt, got a bit more going on in the weapon sculpt, got a bit more going on in the texture around the trousers and the shirt. I don't know, but there you go, there's a G.I. Joe Classified comparison. And then finally, I've got my Anniversary Edition Captain America here, which has been probably my favourite Marvel Legends of the last 18 months, if I'm being perfectly honest. But that really demonstrates, the difference in physique, the book size and shape, and how much taller. I know I've got Indy sort of bent kneed there, but you can definitely sense the difference. Again, that beefier, more chunkier feel to the Marvel Legends in comparison to the more svelte, slender, lighter weight feel of the Indy. Folks, final thoughts time, and then while I do that, here's Indy going around on the turntable in the kind of shelf pose that I settled on, that I landed on. It's a bit bland, maybe, but what else are you going to do with Indiana Jones? I've got a clenched fist, I've got a whip in hand, and he's kind of stood staunch about to use his whip, and you know, put that together, tinker with it a little bit, pop it on the shelf, and you're done. There you go. You've got a nice little Indiana Jones display piece to demonstrate to the world your love of the Indiana Jones character. And that is enough for me. I mean, when I think about how I've reviewed it, the 3A's criteria, I've got a good 2.5 thumbs up there. I like the aesthetic well enough. There's some irritations, yes, but it's there or thereabouts. I love the jacket and the hat and the leather effect and the wear and tear, and the head sculpt I think is decent. So yeah, okay, that's good. The articulation is where the half thumbs up is, because would I like more in the arms? Would I like more in the legs? Yes. But without it, am I all that bothered? Well, no, because I've accepted that this is kind of more of a display piece than a play piece, and it's got great added value. There's a good selection of extra goodies and bits and bobs if you do want to play around with it. So overall, I'm happy with the purchase. This is probably going to be the only Indiana Jones figure that I buy. I may be tempted by a Sean Connery from The Last Crusade, kind of hanging fire to see what the look and feel of that one is when they get round to doing that wave. But and maybe The Last Crusade Indiana Jones blows me away enough that I go, oh no, I need that one instead, rather than this one. But that's to be seen. But as the one and only Indiana Jones figure to pop on my shelf and go, I love Indiana Jones, and look, here he is, I'm quite happy with this one, yeah, absolutely. So there you go, folks. I hope that has helped out anybody who is thinking about picking up one of these of their own and was maybe on the fence, or just looking to know a little bit more about the figure, or get a bit more of a thorough look, a more thorough review of some of the finer detail there to help make your mind up. If you have found this review useful, then I would be eternally grateful if you took a moment to head on down below and hit the thumbs up like button for me. It takes you just a second, but it means ever so much to me. And, while I'm on the subject, again, the subscriber count keeps going up. I am so eternally grateful and just blessed to have so many subscribers joining the MoDXtra Games and Collectibles community here. I love you guys, especially those of you who are commenting all the time and getting involved and into conversation with me. It just really, I never imagined in a million years that I'd be creeping up on 700 subscribers anytime soon with my shitty little YouTube channel. So it's a massive thank you. I'm so blessed and honoured to have you as viewers. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the review. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you again around these parts sometime soon. Take it easy, folks.